okay, after watching that last video, you got 5 steps, 5 simple steps to dividing or multiplying rational expressions. So you're going to see on your graphic organizer that I gave you, or that you printed, whatever, that we just filled out the top part of, there's 6 questions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I am going to, first of all, go over example number 3, so to flip it over. Going through these 5 steps you just wrote down, I'm going to show you example number 3, and then I'm going to go back and show you example number 2, and it is going to be your responsibility then to do questions number 1, number 4, 5, and 6. So you're going to be doing 1, 4, 5, and 6, and you are going to be bringing those to class. It's your responsibility to do those. So really your homework is to do those after we kind of walk through these examples together. So let's do example number 3, and we're going to use your graphic organizer. We're going to talk about the 5 steps. So in this example, first thing you ask yourself is, am I dividing? Well, let's look at the question. Yep, I am dividing. And that will be the directions, by the way. The directions are going to say divide the rational expressions and then simplify your result, I think is what the directions say. So I am certainly dividing. Therefore, I have to do step number 1, and that is keep it, change it, flip it. So if I keep it, that means I'm going to keep this bad boy the same. V minus 7, V plus 8. All of that over. V plus 8, V minus 10. So I keep it, I change this to multiplication, and I flip this one. So I go V minus 10, whoop, over 1. So keep it, change it, flip it. That is step number 1. Step number 2, let's look at these and see if I have the greatest common factor. Well, as I told you, compartmentalize it. So top left, look and see if there's any common factor I can deal with. There isn't. Great. Bottom left, anything I can do the common factor of. No greatest common factor there. Keep moving. Up here, no greatest common factor there. Right there, no greatest common factor there. So we don't have to do step 2. Skip it and go to step 3. And step number 3, remember, is really just taking and factoring the trinomials and binomials, if at all possible, as much as possible. So this one here, well, wait a minute. That's already factored. I already have a trinomial that's been factored. Same here. That's a binomial. There's nothing I can do with it. It's not the difference of 2 squares, although it is the difference. But they're not 2 squares, so that isn't going to work. And 1's non-factorable. So actually, I get to skip number 3. Sweet! Go to step number 4. I told you in step number 4, that's the easiest one that you have to do, because all you're really doing then is multiplying across the numerators. So basically, here's what I get. When I multiply that, I'll get V minus 10 on the top, and then I'll get a 1 on the bottom. So when I multiply across the top, and I multiply across the bottom, across the top, and across the bottom, there's what I get. On to step number 5. We match them up, and we cross them off, and we clean it up. So, are there any that's the same? Well, I see a V plus 8. I see a V plus 8. 1 on top, 1 on the bottom. I see a V minus 10, a V minus 10, 1 on top, 1 on the bottom. So they're crossed off. And I have nothing else in the numerator except V minus 7. I have 1 in the denominator. So there's nothing else that's in common. There's no other common factors on top and on the bottom. So I'm done. So when I do this, I get a final answer. These are gone, 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 gone. I'm left with V minus 7. Well, 7. All of that over 1. Now let's clean it up. That's a great answer, but you wouldn't leave it as V minus 7 over 1. You just write it as V minus 7. And that is your answer. So there's example number 3. That's a division question. Now let's move to one that's multiplication. So flip your paper back over. We'll go back to number 2. I think it's the one I put up here for you. Well, here we go. This one's a little different because if you notice there's something just a little bit different than the last one. Well, let's ask ourselves the questions. Step number 1. Am I dividing? No, I'm not. I'm actually multiplying here. So since I'm multiplying, I just skip step number 1. I do not need to keep it, change it, flip it. I skip all of that stuff. I don't keep, change, flip anything. I keep it exactly as is, really. So I skip step number 1 and go to step number 2, which is finding the GCF. Is there a GCF here? Nope. GCF in these 3? Nope. GCF up here? Nope. GCF here? Nope. So I skip step number 2. Lovely. On to step number 3. That's factor as much as possible if I even can. Well, there's nothing to do with number 2. That's a piece of cake. There's nothing to factor there. That's just 2. On the bottom, though, I can factor this trinomial. And if I do it, I'll factor that bad boy using my Xbox method. 27 goes here. Remember, it's A times C. And then the B goes down here. So what numbers can I multiply to give me positive 27, but add to give me negative 12? Got it. Negative 9 and negative 3. So they multiply to give me positive 27, and they add together to give me negative 12. Sweet. So here we go. This means it factors into V minus 9 and V minus 3. And there's that guy factored. We'll take a wild look at this. You might have already noticed it. The one in the top right, that trinomial, is actually the same as this one. Woo! So you can go through the Xbox method again and factor it if you want, but really it's the same thing. It's going to be V minus 9 and V minus 3. So that's factored as much as possible. Lovely. Bottom right, there's nothing you can do with that 3. It is as is. So, let's move on to step number 4. That's multiply across the numerators and multiply across the denominators. The numerators, if I take 2 times this factored stuff, here's what I will get. 2 times V minus 9 times V minus 3. That's the numerators multiply. And then I multiply across the denominators. Well, factored form of this is V minus 9, V minus 3, that's this, and then times 3. So there's what it looks like. That's step number 4. I told you it's the easiest step. Step 5, match them up, cross them off, clean it up. Sounds like a cool rap song. Match them up, cross them off, clean them up, 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 up. Here we go. So I have a V minus 9 and a V minus 9. They're pieced out. V minus 3 on top, V minus 3 on the bottom. That factor is the same as that factor on the bottom? Later. So what I'm left with, this is a pretty cool question. What I'm left with is a 2 in the top divided by a 3 in the bottom. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, 2 thirds, yucky, stinky, but that is your answer. I gotta stop saying that, sorry. 2 thirds is your answer. So this whole thing gets simplified down to 2 over 3. Now, so there's your 2 examples I just showed you. If it's multiplication, you do everything the same, you just don't do step number 1. Because you can skip it because it's not division. So you're on. You guys do number 1 in your graphic organizer, you do number 4, you do number 5, and you do number 6. There's nothing spectacular to them. You got to just follow the steps. I know, I have confidence, I can see in your eyes. Yeah, I can see you're going to do well with this. I will see you in class with all 4 of those answered. Later.